Hey, this is PJ Souls, and you are totally watching the Son of Celluloid show. Keep watching.
Son of Celluloid! 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 Son of Celluloid!
Greetings, soulmates, and welcome to the Son of Celluloid show. Now, today we're discussing something that's sorely lacking in horror movies these days. Now, I'm not talking about practical effects or cameramen without Parkinson's disease or even original ideas, which are all things I wish would come back into fashion. We're going to talk about gratuitous nudity. See, back in the day, if you watched a horror movie and it sucked, you at least knew that you were going to get to see some tits eventually, so it wasn't a complete loss. Now, there are some filmmakers in the underground scene that are still carrying on that proud tradition, but unfortunately today, horror in general seems to be shying away from cinematic skin. My own personal hero, Joe Bob Briggs, once identified the 3 Bs that were the essential ingredients to a good horror movie, being blood, beasts, and breasts. Those breasts are important, folks, and unfortunately it is the ingredient that is most often missing. You want to know why there's really no scream queens today? That's because you filmmakers aren't giving them the right scenes so they can build their fame. I'm talking about those stabbing scenes in the shower. We're talking about all the sorority girls changing together so they can go off to the haunted house on Halloween. We're talking about beautiful women draped across an altar being sacrificed to Satan. We're talking about little softcore coitus interruptus by a maniac with an axe. Beautiful, naked women just wandering through misty cemetery. These are the stalwarts of the horror genre that really need to make a comeback and need to make a comeback right now. And the power is in your hands, filmmakers, and you have to do this. There's a very important reason. You know why? Because this is America, goddammit! This is where we have the right to bear arms and the right to bear breasts. See, there are countries in this world where you can't show tits on camera, which is an absolute shame, but right here in America, we have the liberty to talk young starlets out of their clothes, and if you're not doing that, that is a slap in the face of the founding fathers. I want you to do it for the love of the art form. I want you to do it for those people who can't do it. I want you to do it for that socially awkward teenage horror geek who it might be the only time he gets to see tits. But most of all, I want you to do it for your country. I'm here to announce the formation of a new tea party here in America, and that tea is for tatas. But don't stop at the fun bags. We need some all-American ass in these movies. Nothing says Americana like a good, gratuitous, gloriously sleazy bush shot. And hell, I'm all for equal opportunity, so throw a dick in there every now and then, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America, and God bless gratuitous nudity. You know what standard practices said? No werewolf on alien violence. Guys, you too, Brad. Go. What? Cat anything. Fucking casket creatures, man. Jeez.
Hey, what the fuck? Hey! Hey, you guys gonna get me the fuck out of here?
Okay, so this woman, her husband dies. She's a new widow. And she goes to the funeral home to talk to the grief consultant and make the funeral arrangements. And they get all that done. She picks out a coffin and everything. And the man says, "Oh, is there anything else at all I can do?" And she goes, "As a matter of fact, my husband always wanted to be buried in a blue suit, but he doesn't have a blue suit. So if you could," and she hands him a blank check. He says, "I will take care of it." She comes back the next day. He's laid out in the viewing room in his new casket. He's wearing this beautiful, beautiful blue suit. And she goes to the grief counselor and says, "It's incredible. That is just a beautiful suit. He would be incredibly happy if he only knew. Thank you so much. She goes, how much did it cost? And he handed her the check back. And she said, no. He goes, you don't understand. Right after you left, a woman came in. Her husband had just died. And he wanted to be buried in a black suit. But he didn't have one. He was wearing a beautiful blue suit. So I took some measurements. They were the same size, so I switched the heads.
What the fuck? You did not even goddamn pay me! Fuck you! Fuck you, casket creature! Fuck you! God damn it! Get me the fuck out of here! Fuck this shit! God damn it! Fuck!
Alright, cool. That's a wrap.
Next up, please, Scott.
God! Hey! Fuck you! No, man, I'm not fucking kidding! Get me out of this god... Fuckers! Fuck! Fuck!
Hey there, Soulmates. It's time for this episode's Indie Horror Spotlight, and this time around, we're going to be talking about 4 movies by Bobby Easley. Bobby is an independent horror filmmaker from Indiana, and right here off the bat, I have to offer Bobby an apology. See, I met Bobby at Days of the Dead Indianapolis last year, and he gave me some movies. Unfortunately, right after he gave me those movies was the time where, for various reasons, I took a long break from the blog and the YouTube show. Sorry about that, Bobby. I know you've been waiting a long time for these reviews, but now that I'm back in the saddle, I wanted to make sure I took care of your stuff on episode 1 of season 2. First off, we've got The River Runs Black. This is the story of some people who go out into the woods to investigate some local legends and end up running afoul of a very pissed off Indian spirit. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was not the biggest fan of this flick. For 2 reasons. Number 1, not the whole movie, but a lot of it is told found footage style, and as we all know by now, I loathe found footage. He did kind of switch up the formula, however, as he had the camera change hands and change ownership throughout the movie, which is cool because you're not just following the same characters the whole time. My other issue was it's slow, and that was exacerbated by the fact that a lot of slow motion occurs in this movie. A lot of it takes place in slow-mo, which kind of made it drag in places. So I may not have been the biggest fan of this movie, even though it has really good story. The characters feel very natural in this flick. Beautiful scenery where he's shot. You might dig it, though, because as we all know, my tastes often do not fall in line with what everyone else seems to like. Something I really liked, however, was X. This is a throwback 80s slasher flick that he co-directed with Terrence Muncie, and it's great. One of the problems with a lot of the throwback slasher flicks and throwbacks of any kind, grindhouse, whatever, is that they often manage to get the style of the movies that they're inspired by, but they can't capture the essence and the spirit of those kind of flicks. X, however, excuse me, this feels like something you would have taken off the video store shelves in the 80s. It's one of the, just like one of those old shot-on-video type of flicks. This is awesome. In addition to co-directing, Bobby stars in this movie, and he's a damn good actor. Does a damn good job in this flick. He also does good voice acting, because there's a whole thing of him narrating his story, kind of talking to a psychiatrist, I would imagine. And it plays over parts of this movie and really pulls the story along. It was a really cool filmmaking technique, and he pulls it off very well. Man, there's not a lot to say except this is awesome. The gore's really good. The story's really good. The acting's really... In addition to Bobby, the 2 homicide detectives, I really enjoyed their performances. Personally, I think it could have used a little more nudity, but, that's just me. As you saw off the top of the show, I'm all about the titties. But X. Definitely you need to get X. That brings me to The Boogeyman. Now, The Boogeyman was made through a partnership with Stephen King through a program where you can license his stories for $1. Unfortunately, you cannot, after that, commercially sell the movie, which is a shame because this is really good. It's the story of a man who has a dark entity following him and tearing his family apart, but nobody seems to believe him. And I think Bobby's main strength as a filmmaker and where he really excels is mood and atmosphere. He really knows how to set the plate for the story. In this movie, he really does it through his cinematography, through the sound design, and a lot through the lighting. Bobby used a lot of really cool lighting all throughout his flicks, and that atmosphere just really draws you in and really gets you involved in the story. What also gets you involved are good performances by John Johnson and John Dugan as the man who's going through this thing, and his psychiatrist. Both of them put forth really good performances, and the pacing issues that I was talking about with River Runs Black, they are absolutely gone by the time we get to Boogeyman. The way this is paced is perfect to build the suspense. Now, last up is All Sinners' Night. God, that's a good title. How has no one used that before? I don't have a visual aid because all I got was the disc and the sleeve, but hey, I'm cool with that as long as I get to see the movie. It's the story of a man whose wife killed herself because of her involvement in a cult, and a girl who believes that her brother has fallen afoul of this cult and has disappeared, and they are off to stop this said cult from sacrificing 5 souls to Satan on Halloween night. Because when else do you sacrifice souls to Satan? Now, it's kind of half thriller and half horror movie, and the horror aspects end up working a lot better. The thriller kind of falters mainly because, to be perfectly honest, the 2 lead actors are awful. They're so bad. Their line delivery is awkward. They don't have any, chemistry with each other. However, if you're like me, sometimes that bad acting can add to the charm of a movie like this. I don't know if you're like that, but just be known that those 2 main performances aren't very good. What is good is the supporting cast. Everyone else does a really good well, maybe except for those 2 Days of the Dead jackasses he cast as the store clerks. They're, I don't know about those guys. But the rest of the supporting cast does really good, especially the guy who plays Reverend Hiram Graves. He is the leader of the cult, and he's really good. He's kind of got that poltergeist reverend thing going on. This movie was all about the last act. That's where that atmosphere I said that Bobby is so adept at setting up really kicks into high gear, and the movie just gets really good from there. But all throughout, there's a lot to like. I mean, the soundtrack's good. Actually, all of Bobby's movies have good soundtracks. I could have told you he had good taste in music ever before I watched one of his movies, because when I met him, he was wearing a Crowbar shirt. Fucking Crowbar. Sammy Terry makes a cameo. It's always cool to see the horror host getting a little love. There's a lot to enjoy in this movie. If you're a fan of low-budget horror, which, if you're watching my show, I'm pretty sure you are, you should check it out. Overall, I'd say Bobby's work kind of reminds me of those regional horror filmmakers from the 80s, like Todd Sheets and Tim Ritter, Donald Farmer, those kind of guys. I really dig those kind of movies, and if you like those kind of movies, you will definitely dig what Bobby's putting out there. He's got a couple of cool projects coming up. He's got one called Belly Timber. It's a historically based cannibal flick. He's making a war movie. I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but from some of the stuff I've seen and heard, it's going to be pretty cool, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. You can go check out all of his movies at Horror Wasteland Flicks. Flicks with an X, as in X, a movie you need to buy. So you need to go over there and check it out. I'll put that link right down there. So, River Runs Black, I recommend it if you're really into the found footage thing. X, I recommend it to everyone because it's awesome. Boogeyman, try and find a way to see it. Bobby, I don't care if it's online streaming, whatever it is, you need to get that movie out there. It's fucking good. And All Sinners' Night, if you dig low-budget horror, you're going to love that movie. So go over to horrorwastelandflix.com. Check out what Bobby's got going on. Get info on his upcoming movies. Buy his previous movies that I've talked about here. And support independent horror.
God! Fuck you, casket creatures! Right in the hell, you cock-sucking bitches! Fuck you! Fuck you! God! Damn it! Ah, fuck it.
Sunshine in my life, care for you. I've never heard of it. I pushed you away.
And now it's time for Great Horror Quotes
with Joe's mom.
This episode, Candyman.
I hear you're looking for Candyman, bitch. Well, you found him.
This has been Great Horror Quotes
with Joe's mom.
Forgot my drink.
Yeah, fuck you, man.
His interviews come from the darkest pits of hell. Monsters from the movie screen horror he knows so well. The champion of horror, the master of gore. Wait till you see the terror he has in store. Son of Celluloid.
Hey there, soulmates. It's time for this All right. Hey there, soulmates. It's time for this episode.